I'm the second coach ever at Parkview in 44 years. It's been a very consistent message, very consistent discipline in our program for, over 40 years. So obviously that helps. And being a little bit of a small town atmosphere, it's known from a young age that this is what you're going to have to do.
Hello and welcome to Ahead of the Curve. I am Jonathan Gellner, and thank you so much for being here. This episode is presented to you by baseballcloud, the official voice of data. baseballcloud's revolutionary software platform brings to life the numbers captured by TrackMan and FlightScope. This provides colleges, players, and facility owners around the world a turnkey product, allowing them to analyze their data using key metrics and custom visualizations on one intuitive user interface. Go to baseballcloud.com to find out how you can have your own data analytics department for your program. Data has a story to tell, and BaseballCloud gives it a voice. In this episode, I welcome Chan Brown, head coach at Parkview High School. Parkview had a wildly successful 2018 season, winning the 7A Georgia State Championship and finishing number 1 in the country, according to Baseball America. During our discussion, Chan walks us through his typical summer and fall training practice procedures. He also walks us through his team's developmental program, which starts at 6 years old. And Coach Brown graciously gives us plenty of useful advice to not only help shape fantastic players, but also to make great people out of the young man he trains. Here is Chan Brown. Coach Brown, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
Of course. And, we planned on meeting at the ABCA, but got caught up in the storm of thousands of baseball coaches. And I did get to see you. I don't even know if I got to shake your hand, but we had planned on getting together. And I'm really excited to get you on the mic today and to get to hear what you guys are doing with your program. We've gone over a bunch of different stuff and really excited for what you're going to bring to the table today.
No, I'm crazy excited about being here with you today. And, I'm sorry we didn't get to hook up in the ABCA as much as we wanted to. And, the ABCA is just an unbelievable experience for everybody. And there's so many people that you want to chit chat with and get some knowledge or just say, hey, and so it's a great experience for everybody.
Absolutely. And, I wanted to start with congrats on the national championship. And, I just want to know, and I'm sure you'll direct it to the players because, we've talked about it before, but I want to know what made that team so special.
Well, as far as the team goes, it was a fun year and a hard year. A pretty talented group. We ended up with 8 guys going to college, no matter if it was D1 all the way down to JUCO on that team as far as seniors go. And, we went through a rough patch. We started off a little iffy, and the pressure of being number 2 in the nation and number 1 in the state kind of got to the players, and we had to work through some things. And, it got to the point where we had to have a sit-down meeting. Our coaching staff with a sit out one day, and that was about mid-season. At that point, we had lost 5 games, I guess. Typically, we don't do that a whole lot by then, and we just sat down and hashed it out. And at that point, we came together, and at that point, we were pretty hard to beat because the chemistry and the love amongst that team and the coaching staff after that meeting.
Do you mind expanding on what you guys kind of talked about? Because I've never been a head coach before, and I've been a part of those meetings. And so you're the leader of the team, and you're the guy that everybody looks to whenever, people are, or whenever your team is not performing in a way that you want them to. So what does a typical meeting like that look like?
Well, we had everybody in the locker room. I did my spiel. I had some quotes, some books, some the Bible and everything else. And I did my spiel, and I allowed every kid to say what they needed to say, no matter to the coaching staff or to the players or the team, however they wanted to reference that. And, it was just a thing that there were some people that weren't on the same page as the coaching staff, and we just needed to hash some things out. And once that got hashed out, we moved forward, and we only lost one more game. So, and obviously we went on to win state and win our 3rd national championship since 2012. And so that's been a fun ride for us. And these kids, the senior group, they won the state championship as a 9th grade group too. So these seniors left, some of them left with two rings. So it was really cool for them.
No, absolutely. And that's, it's fun to hear stories like that because you don't get, I like, if I didn't work with you, I wouldn't get to see that part of the program, but it's really cool that that you would point to that as kind of your point and turnaround of the season.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, we had some games that we looked like world beaters, and we had a couple games that just wasn't characteristic Parkview baseball. And like I said, it was this time for us to sit down and kind of hash it out, and we did. And at that point, everybody came out on the same page, and it was a great thing. It was a great thing for the young men to grow up a little bit too, and understand not just the baseball side of it, but life. Understanding that nothing comes easy. You got to work at it and put everything about getting how much you put into it, getting that out of it. So, and it was just a great thing for our program, to be honest with you.
Oh, for sure. And again, I love hearing about that, but let's go ahead and let's flash forward a little bit, a couple months down the road, and you guys are showing up for, fall camp or whatever you'd like to call it, the off season. And you just won a national championship and you won a state championship. And you graduated, you said 8 guys that went on to play in college. So what did you guys really focus on this fall, and just kind of run through some things if you don't mind?
We've run a pretty intense off season, to be honest with you. So I have every baseball player at 115, which we called 7th period. The class is called advanced fitness, but so I have every baseball player. So we have 53 of them together at 115 every single day, Monday through Friday. So we, at that point in August, when they show back up in August 5th, obviously we've already done the summer ball type deal. And summer ball, we used to stay together as a team and go to play in the perfect games and everything else and play local teams. But it just got to be a thing that, I didn't think the kids were getting seen enough. So I talked to SEC schools, ACC schools, and they told us that if we had a quad, they come every day. And it was a thing that I wanted our kids to be seen. So we went to a 9 to 12 every Tuesday, Wednesday. We have 2 hours on the field and an hour in the weight room. And that's the entire program during the summer, the whole month of June. And then July is optional as far as that. And that takes us into August. We started school August 5th this past year. So from August 5th to September 5th, we lift from 1:30 to 3 every day. And we go really, really heavy for a month and get a good foundation back for them, when they've broken their body down a little bit during summer ball. So when we get to September 5th, we go to 3 days a week, and we go do a pool workout. We do plyometrics. They actually swim. They do push outs. They do swings underneath the water. They do a mixture of things. We've done that for the last 8 years, something that I came up with, and we go to a local pool, and we do that twice a week, and it's about an hour and 15-minute workout. And so that's been really, really good for us after lifting for 5 days a week, kind of elongates the muscles. So at that point, we do that for 10 sessions. And so that takes us into October. And at that point, for the last 11 years, we hire Hammersmith, which is a speed and agility that's local around here. And they come in every Tuesday and Thursday and do 20 sessions with our kids all the way from October to January 1st, or really January 4th, I guess, this year. And they go from 1:30 to 3 too. And so, it's a pretty intense program. The kids are really disciplined as far as the weight room goes. And that's huge for us. In my opinion, if you're not in the weight room, you're not getting any better right now in this day and age. So, and then when we get into late October, that's when we start 4-on-1. That's the state of Georgia allows us 4 players for 1 coach. Okay. And so we do a lot of 4-on-1 stuff there. And our throwing program, we actually, after the perfect game Jupiter, we make our guys take a month off of throwing. So our throwing program normally starts the Monday after Thanksgiving. Okay. And then we start bullpens the day after Christmas. So that gives all our guys about 4 bullpens before we start our tryouts, which this year was January 14th. So off season wise, it's that's pretty much our routine yearly. And it's worked really, really well for us.
Oh, I love hearing about that, and again, I love this podcast because I get to see what you guys are doing in the off season. Whenever are we doing things right, or are other people doing things different? And something that we've had internal discussions about as well, because we have a summer ball program in June, and we've had internal discussions about just training them all summer, because most of them play ball elsewhere. So it's really neat to be able to hear you guys say that. And is that something that has really benefited you guys in the last couple of years?
I tell you, I think we've been doing it for 3 years now. I think it's really good from an individual standpoint. It's able, you're not really in a time restraint per se, and you're able to kind of break down the bits and pieces and the nuts and bolts of the infield, the outfield, whatever it might be, catching and really work on and focus on certain things just on that day, and that maybe in the season that you just can't break it down like that every single day. And so from a hitting standpoint, and I think it really benefits our guys from being able to lift still for that hour in summer ball when they're still playing and trying to be seen for college. But it's really allowed us a little bit more individuality as far as coach per, one coach to a player. And so that's really worked well for us.
No, that's definitely something that I'm going to read up more on. And the last thing that we want to do is we don't want to lift all year and then when they get to summer ball, not let them have the opportunity to do so and to lose a lot of the stuff that we had already gained anyways. And we're always griping about our kids losing weight. And I truly think that's a big part of it. But you've mentioned a couple times that you guys have been extremely successful since you took over the helm. Would you say 2012? You guys have won 3 national championships since then?
Yeah, I won 4 state championships since 2011. Okay. We have 7 total state championships, and then we have 3 national championships since 2012. And the cool fact about this is I'm the second coach ever at Parkview in 44 years.
Oh, wow.
Coach Hugh Buchanan was there before for myself, and I was his assistant for a couple of years, and then before I was lucky enough to take over. So, it's been a very consistent message, very consistent discipline in our program for, over 40 years. So obviously that helps. And being a little bit of a small town atmosphere, it's known from a young age that this is what you're going to have to do.
Oh, very cool. And that almost never happens, 2 guys in 40 years. And so what I'm leading to is you guys are so successful every year. And so there's that drive to be able to do so. And you mentioned that it's a small town feel, that it is something that they're growing up knowing that they're going to try and be successful in baseball because that's what the culture is. But how do you find that fine line between hey, we know we're going to be successful, or that's the goal every single year, and we're going to have those high expectations, to having a team that expects it. And so again, and the reason I ask is Union's coming off a 2018 state championship, and so we are constantly talking about, hey, that's last year. Hey, this is not that team, and things like that. So I'm interested to hear your perspective on that.
I think you benefit from mentioning last year a little bit here and there of remembering how things were and how things got to the point where you were able to win a championship, and how hard of a ride and how much luck you had to have in the same sentence. And, it's just a thing that the tradition of our program, the state championship, we had 28 ex-players in our dugout.
Cool.
Sitting
awesome.
On the bench. And so, it's a thing that is passed down from year to year. The tradition, the expectation of our community for our program. If we don't go to the Final Four or state championship, honestly, it's a letdown for our community too. And so there's a drive there from a young age that this is what they want. This is what they've been built to be per se. And and it's worked well for us. I mean, everybody's lucky enough to have that year out. I've been my first head job was at Elbert County, Georgia, right near Athens, and I built a program there per se. It's a lot different feel when you're building it, and then when the expectation is where it is at Parkview every single year. It's about guiding it and coaching it the right way, and understanding the players and all the facets that go into that.
Oh, that's awesome. And so you've got, say you've got some new freshmen, sophomores coming in, and you're trying to teach them about that culture. What are some things that you guys are really intentional about, and how do you go about teaching it?
The culture thing for us starts at age 6, to be honest with you. I have a travel program called Meridian Panthers.
Perfect.
Last year's senior class was with us for 10 years. So it's a thing that, I don't do a travel program in high school because of this, but we do an age 6 and 7 developmental league And so that means they play rec league for three weeks, and then every third weekend the entire league's off besides that travel team for 6, 7U. And then our 8 through 14U is strictly major travel. And so, but the cool thing about that is myself, one of my infield coaches, Dustin Klein, and one of my head JV coach, Mark Lowry, we do a 12-week session deal in the fall. And so we do 6 weeks of defense with the kids at Parkview, and then we take a week off, and then we do 6 weeks of offense with them. And so they know our coaching staff, they know our facility, they know the expectation, they see all the signage, they see all the rings, everything, from age 6 on. And so the culture is kind of built from that point on, and it's a really cool thing to watch. And those kids coming, those kids coming up, watching and wanting to be that guy. Last year, Logan Cerny, he's at Troy now. He was real big for us, hit 7 home runs in the playoffs. And the cool thing about it, after state championship, seeing 7 to 8 little kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old, looking up to him, wanting to take a picture with him. And that's what they want to be. And so, I think that's a drive for us in our community. So it's been a cool experience for myself to be able to develop that program, and then it leads into ours.
No, that is absolutely phenomenal. And so that's that is really, really cool. I don't know how else to put that. And you're really training them with your standards and your culture from that early of an age. And so basically once they get there, hey, they know it's just go time.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, honestly, I used to be a football coach too. And I honestly kind of looked at the model that old school Valdosta High School was they won state championship after state championship, and they did that from the same sentence. They ran the same offense as little league teams started, at age 6. And by the time they got to high school, it's, they get it and they understand what's supposed to happen. And so I kind of took that mentality and I kind of ran with it.
No, that's how you develop sustained success or sustained excellence, I guess, if you want to call it. And that's something, man, that's really cool. I don't know why more programs don't do that.
Well, and it's
probably not easy though either.
It's very, very time consuming. I'm lucky. I have a 10-year-old son and a 13-year-old son. They're involved in that program right now. And the cool thing about it is teaching, so from 6U to 10U, it's dads coaching. And so we make them come out to all these sessions. So they're learning just as much as the kids do. And so when they go to practice, we're asking them to do everything we do, age appropriate,
Sure.
And then once they hit 11, 12, 13, 14, it's all paid coaches that they understand our program and understand our expectation. And so, it's a great process for us.
Cool. Another thing that we really don't get to see much in other programs, and that's really their rules and their standards and how they, I guess enforce is maybe a little bit of a harsh term, but let's just say how they teach their young men how to abide by the rules and the standards of the program. So what's that for you guys?
Well, and I'll go back to the travel program. They hear the same thing, but the high schoolers, they're all gonna hear the same thing. We have a lot of signage around our dugout, our locker room, and the biggest term they're gonna hear every single day is do the right thing all the time, and that's on the field, off the field. No matter if you're at your house or at a skating rink or at a movie theater, if you're representing, you got to represent your family first, and then Parkview baseball, and make sure you're doing that in the right way. All the time. And I mean, we talk about, in order, it's about God, it's about family, it's about our, school, and it's about our baseball and that order. It's about being a student too. And when I mentioned that school part, you'll see a sign in our dugout if you come that talks about in this order, be a great person, be a great student, be a great teammate, and that leads to being a great player. And good. So, that's a huge thing for us there. Each year I do a senior dinner at my house. I cook every coach a steak and baked potato salad, and we have a great meal together. And then we go to my basement, and that's when that senior class is able to tell us what their motto is for that year. And this year's motto came from a little bit of last year, but this year's senior motto is "Be the Roar," and that came from the Ole Miss coach. He did a little thing before it, like he does every game, talked to us thing about how the Lions, when they're hungry, they go after the Gazelles. And so what they do is put the youngest and the loudest lion, and they go in the front of the gazelles. And when he roars, the gazelles run the other way, and all the leaders of the lions, and the older ones and the wiser ones, are in the back. And so the gazelles run in straight into them, and then all the lions feast. And so that's a huge thing that our kids loved it last year. And as juniors, they said that's what they wanted, their motto.
Oh,
and that's
cool.
what they came back to. Something that I'm doing this year. I'm a Clemson guy. I really like following Dabo, but this year his word was joy. I kind of bought into that. And so this year it's going to sound corny to some people, but our kids are already buying into it. But our word's going to be love. But we're going to have a three-worded head per se. And the first one's going to be love. The second one's going to be loyalty. And the third one's going to be leadership. And the way I explained it was, if everybody in our program loves each other, then they're going to be loyal to each other. And then when that guy's trying to be a leader of them, then it's all going to come together. So that's really working well for us already this year. But those are some things that we do. So
it sounds like you're in constant communication with basically all of your players about all of those things.
Yeah, and I am, and I'm lucky to be able to get them every day in class, and so we have a 5-10 minute session every day about, it might be a Bible verse, it might be a quote per se from me, and we're going to talk about doing the right things on and off the field. Don't be that guy that's going to be the mistake maker per se. And then the other thing is we do a player packet, and that player packet, it's about 30 pages, has a player contract, and in that there's our county drug and alcohol policy. And the same thing, it tells them basically how to put their shoes on, how to put their socks on, all the way to how to talk to the media, understanding showcases these days. And so we add to it every year, and we might take away some of those things. And then the cool thing that we started this year, I had a vision this summer. I wanted to do a leadership class. And so I gave it to 3 of my assistants, knowing that I wouldn't have the time to run it all the time and research it. And those 3 assistants, so we met every Wednesday for an hour after we got done in the weight room, and they did a leadership class. And we ended up with 16 sessions, and we got so much out of that. It was awesome. I mean, our kids bought into it. They had to keep a notebook. Our guys gave them handouts every week. And so that notebook is in their locker. And so leadership is something that we are really, really trying to enforce and talk about, and not just having one big leader, but having a bunch of leaders on our team being on the same page.
Oh, definitely. And you go from having, I don't know the amount of assistant coaches that you've got, but from that to we can grow to 20 to 30 assistant coaches. And that's something that I'm trying to put a lot of ownership on the kids, especially this year, and honestly trying to get out of the way more often and let them teach themselves, and not taking the art of coaching out of it. But if I'm doing my job, which is clear and concise communication within their small groups, and just taking the hitting side in general, and thoroughly explaining exactly how we want to do things, and setting it up in an environment to allow them to do so, we should have 20 to 30 assistant coaches instead of just 1 or 2 hitting guys, if that makes sense.
No, and I agree. And I mean, it's the thing. Our senior class is really doing a great job right now with our guys. And it kind of took it out the words out of my mouth, but we are big on talking to players about taking ownership, and that's kind of a tradition. And that tradition is passed down from year to year for us, even to the point of it's a huge deal when the seniors do their last will thing of senior night at our games, is they pass on their locker and their number to the next guy.
That's cool.
And, we have magnets, locker names. And so every name that's been in that locker since I started and beyond, be honest with you, we kind of went back and looked of who was in each locker. And so, our number one pitcher per se gets one lock, it kind of gets passed down to the next guy. And there's such a tradition in that. And you look at those magnetic names, now we're at about 10 magnetic names in each locker, and it just spells out tradition and the expectation. So it's pretty cool to see that.
That is very cool. And again, you guys are very talented every year, and I'm sure there's a lot of competition within each position group and obviously healthy competition because, you want to be the guy. If you and I are competing, then I'm going to want to beat you. But how do you guys integrate competition into your practices and how do you make that a staple in them?
All right, we every year, no matter, I probably started this about 7 years ago. All three teams practice together.
Oh, cool.
For at least at the beginning of the season, pretty much every day for at least an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes. They're gonna do our D drill series, our individual series, and our defensive package. They're gonna do all together, and so. The culture, the competition there is brought up all the way since ninth grade, all the way to senior, because like if we do what we call our white series, the varsity's going to go out there and do it. And then the JV is going to go out there and do it. Mm-hmm. And then the ninth grade is going to go out there and do it. And that's an infield series for us. You're going to make every throw that you would make in a game. And the varsity's sitting there cheering on the ninth grade, and the ninth grade sitting there scared to death. But it breeds competition, to be honest with you. And then the expectation of the program there really, really comes out. Again, the older players leading the younger players. And, like you said, it allows you to have more assistant coaches because that senior class understands that. And then the other competition stuff for us is game simulated stuff. We do everything we do. We try to do at game speed and game simulated type atmosphere. Right now, we just got done with tryouts this week, but we've already scrimmaged twice. So we're going to scrimmage 2 to 3 times a week to make sure our pitchers get their work in, not just in a bullpen series, but in a competitive environment as hitters. And so right now they're split up amongst what we call an orange team and a blue team. And we've had some awesome scrimmages and this competition and, people wanting to win those games already. And then the other thing is we always practice varsity and JV together. So the 10th graders that are on JV, they're understanding that they have to, per se, go hard. We expect them to challenge our varsity. So our varsity is ready for a varsity game. And what that does is each 10th grade class every year, they understand, they get the game speed of a varsity game. And then when they play JV games, sometimes it's almost easy for them, to be honest with you.
Right.
So, that's a cool thing for that. And then the other thing, we're big on 21 outs. Sometimes we'll let each team go through twice and hit. And sometimes we do it the old way, 21 outs, where, you get exactly 21 outs and error takes one of the outs back and that type of deal. And that's very competitive for us. And then, the other thing that we get to the point of right before the season is we throw uniforms on them every Saturday and scrimmage, and it's starters versus role players. And, that we'll if a starter's not getting it done that day, we'll go tell them to put on the other uniform and that role player go put the other uniform on. And all of a sudden, people know you got to do your job. And, some people might say that's harsh, but it really isn't. You're teaching life there too. You got to show up every single day and make sure you do what you're supposed to do.
I love that. And there's so much to really unpack there. And how many players total in your program, and do you guys have tryouts?
So we just got done with tryouts.
Okay.
We do tryouts for varsity and JV Monday through Thursday, and then we pick a team. So Monday is a testing day for us. We do a running test, which is home to first, and then we do test at 15 foot off first base and 15 foot off second. And so it's basically where you would lead and where you would start sliding on a steal. And then we do a 40-yard turn, which is 30 feet off of second and 30 feet off of home. And we got a lot of that stuff from USA Baseball, where I've worked with them for a long time, and so did Coach Buchanan. And then we do a 60. And then our throwing test, we do a throwing test and a hitting test on those Mondays, and then we hit BP. And then Tuesday is a deal that we practice for about an hour and a half, and then we scrimmage, 10 inning scrimmage. And then Wednesday is a VP practice day, and then Thursday is a little bit of a practice and then another scrimmage. And then we make cuts, and then we start that ninth grade tryout on that Thursday too before we start, and they get 3 days also. But so we just picked all teams. We have a little bit bigger number than we normally do. We had some ninth graders come out that are new to the school, and so we added a couple. So we're at 56 players for 3 teams right now.
Okay, I gotcha.
And that's some of that's POs and that type of stuff too.
Sure, sure. I was just trying to get an idea of what we're working with, because you're mentioning that you guys have practice varsity and JV together, and that's, you guys have a lot of players on the field.
We do, and I mean it's if you come watch our practice, nobody's standing around. We don't sit around. It's very structured and disciplined and organized, and we're getting after it pretty much as long as we're on the field. So I'm very lucky with varsity and JV. We got six coaches. I have 9 coaches in my program. That's going to sound like a lot, but when on a day that all three teams are playing, I want 3 coaches with each team.
Right.
And and so that's important to me. Our county only pays for 3 coaches out of the supplement, so our booster club pays for the rest. And
Gotcha.
so we're fortunate to be a prominent booster club, and we raise a good bit of money just to pay coaches, to be honest with you.
Well, that's cool. And so, do you have any ideas on fundraising? Like, what are your couple big fundraisers that you guys do?
So our fundraising thing has been, we used to run a thing called the Parkview Shootout, and when I first got to Parkview as assistant, and I took over that tournament, we had 160 to 162 teams for 5 straight years, and then the Perfect Games of the World and everything else came, and travel ball started taking over. So we're down. We still run a Parkview Shootout, but we're down to about 35 teams, and mostly JV 9th grade teams.
Okay.
So we used to make a lot of money off that, but now we do a poinsettia and a greenery sale that we make a good bit of money off of. We make about $25,000 off that. Each kid has to sell 40 items.
Okay.
And then we have what's really become huge for us is our golf tournament. Our golf tournament, we had 56 foursomes this past year.
Wow.
And so, you think about 56 foursomes, that's a ton of golfers. So we're on a big golf course, and that's a huge fundraiser for us. And then we sell Christmas trees, and then we do a player's fee. That player fee covers all their cloth that they're going to wear outside the baseball field, as far as sweats and shorts and things like that. And and I'll be the first person to tell you, we live in a prominent area that money is not an issue on a yearly basis. And then you are finding sponsors for certain kids, and it's a great experience for us. And the Parkview community, the Lilburn community, really gets behind us and supports us, because we've been lucky to be successful.
Let me take a few seconds to tell you guys about OnBaseU. OnBase University is an organization that studies how the human body moves in baseball and softball. They offer certification seminars that teach coaches, trainers, and medical professionals how to assess an athlete's physical ability to perform movement patterns that are specific to hitting and pitching. For example, they just put up a blog post on their website, onbaseu.com, that discussed why hip internal rotation is important in hitting and how they evaluate it with their OnBaseU screen. If you want to learn more about OnBaseU, I did a podcast with the OnBaseU founder, Dr. Greg Rose, episode 78, and he talked about how he modeled the screen after golf assessments that he created for TPI. They are hosting pitching and hitting seminars in Phoenix, Newark, and Houston over the next few months. I will be attending one soon, and I hope to see you there. Yeah, that's fantastic. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, and that's you're talking about practice planning. I'd love to hear your process of how you plan your practices, and really, let's start in particular of, do you guys get together as a coaching staff after practices to plan the next one? Is that a 1 day a week thing, or do you just kind of construct everything and then send it out, and then just kind of, what's your process behind that? Getting it to your coaches, I mean. So
I put together a notebook that has everything that our assistant coaches would need to know, and some of that is them helping me put that together. Like I allow my guys to coach. I'm not going to say a whole lot to them after we just have our discussions before the season, unless I see something that I'm going to question maybe later on that night. Like, hey, why did we do this today? But we put together a notebook, and our infield coaches put their stuff together, and we add that to the notebook. I do the hitting stuff. My pitching coach does the pitching coach, stuff, and the catching coach does his stuff. And so that's kind of our, per se, Parkview baseball Bible that we go by. And then the tryout system is pretty much the same routine every year. But once practice starts, I email them every morning and say, what do you want in the practice? What do you want? What do you need? And so that helps me construct it a little bit. And then, there's certain ideas that I know that the concepts that we need to get across that day. And so I put that together. And so, I'm very, very lucky. The staff that we have, I have 2 guys that have been with me for 10 years. I had 3 guys on my staff that played for me. And so, that whole thing of playing for me, they get it. They get the tradition. And so, they're their own little head coach in themselves because they know what the program is supposed to be doing. And obviously that helps a ton.
Well, that's really cool. Again, we are within our own staffs, and unless you've been a lot of different places, I don't know what that looks like. So thank you for taking us through that. And I think that's really cool. So does your varsity staff come up with the notebook stuff? Because the more that I interview,
Yeah.
Okay. And
that's what our varsity staff goes together and then, puts that together. And then I ask them to do their part, and then they send it to me. And then I put them in notebooks and then whatever else, I do a coaching duty sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I outline everything that I want that person to do, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And that goes all the way from field work, press box, before games, handling the umpires, whatever. Everybody knows exactly what they are supposed to do because of that coaching duty sheet. And I tell you that's the whole football thing, honestly.
Right.
And so, but there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Everybody's on the same page, but the camaraderie and the chemistry amongst our staff, we know exactly where everybody is and what they're doing. And, we can feel a bad practice is happening together, and we can turn up the intensity a little bit and make sure that thing turns out right. And then, I tell you, Coach Buchanan still comes around. That's huge for our program. And then we have a long time assistant that was he's still cutting grass for us, but named Roy Massey. We call him Chief. That's tradition, just walking in the dugout every single day. He comes and watches practice, and the chemistry just from him walking in amongst the kids and the coaching staff is a huge thing for us. But he coached for 53 years, and he was with us for 40. And but the community, the ex-players, like I said, I've been lucky enough to be here for 16 years, 15 as a head coach, and I'm starting to get some of my players' kids come through at age 6 and 7 and 8, and
that's awesome.
That's an awesome feeling,
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. And so I'm sitting here thinking too, because we've got a coaching staff of seven, and so complexity of organization leads to ease of execution. And so I really love that, and especially with 9 guys. And I'm just thinking to myself, do you have the varsity guy, especially if there's a new guy coming in, if you've got a guy that's been there, maybe you talk through some of the things that you're going to update in the notebook, but do you have the varsity guys teach the JV and freshman guys what exactly they're wanting and what the expectations are?
Well, yeah, and so
Okay.
Our staff, we're together. Like during varsity tryouts, varsity JV tryouts, our 9th grade staff's with us.
Cool.
And so they're going through every drill, every bullpen, every BP, and their opinion matters to me. They might see something that one of us didn't see. They might be sitting in the dugout and see a kid might not be the best teammate. And so they're just as big a part of our staff as I am, to be honest with you.
Well, that's really, really good, especially with a staff of 9. I was curious of how that works. And so we've talked about practice planning a lot. How kind of walk us through what a typical practice would look like, and we're getting into the preseason, and you talked about you guys are scrimmaging quite a bit, but if we didn't, you mentioned that you guys would be together for the first hour or so with all of that different stuff, and would that be continuing until you guys start playing games?
Pretty much that continues all year for us. But,
oh, cool.
Our first 3 weeks, I'm going to be as honest can be. We are a marathon program.
Mm-hmm.
We practice from 2:30 to 7:30 Monday through Friday, and our Saturdays, our 9th grade and JV come in from 8 a.m. to 1, and our varsity comes in from 11 to 6. And we're doing something, no matter if it's a classroom session, no matter if it's cage work, but we, and then it leads into a BP session or a defensive series session into a scrimmage. And so, we practice the first 3 weeks a lot. We're not going to cover, we're not going to leave anything uncovered, any stone. We want to make sure that as a coaching staff that we have covered everything, and where we're not going to put the kids on a field where they're going to see something or not, they might see something that we haven't covered, and that wouldn't be fair for the kids. And so we're going to try our best to do, make sure that they're as well prepared, as well organized as they can possibly be. And so, a course of a day right now for us, like on Tuesday, varsity and JV will practice tomorrow, and we'll actually scrimmage tomorrow because it's supposed to rain on Wednesday. But on a Tuesday, when we come in, our ninth grade JV and varsity will stretch together, and then they'll throw together, and then we'll go into automatic. We'll go into D drills, and that's our individual. So our varsity outfield, our JV outfield, and our ninth grade outfield or coach will be together. Our infield, our catching, our pitching coach, whatever that might be. And so they're all hearing the varsity coach, saying what he wants and expectations. And then that leads us into, we do 15 to 20 minutes of mass fungo a day. We're going to take, 15 to 20 minutes of ground balls, fly balls every single day. And then that will lead into what I said. We'll either do a blue series, which is based off catchers. Our white series is based off infielders, and our orange series is based off outfielders. So we're going to do all that together. And then once that is over with, the varsity might go to the softball field or the cages and let ninth graders, the ninth grade team and the JV team play 21 outs against each other. Okay. Or the ninth grade might leave and the varsity and JV play, or we might do a circuit like that. And then at that point, we let the ninth grade go, and then the varsity and JV continues to practice together. But that being in itself, it leads back to what we talked about, is our older guys being with our younger guys, and making sure they understand the program per se.
Sure. What's your BP setup look like?
So we do several different types of BP. We do a thing called Panther BP, which we got from Clemson. They call it Tiger BP, so we just made it Panther BP. But it is a game simulated BP, and you have 4 different rounds, but you can make your rounds anything that you want. It might be a hit and run round, it might be a oppo round. There's base runners, there's an outfielder, and everybody infield and everything. There's a pitcher on the mound, and then the other thing is that the first ball is not live, the second ball is live. So you go live, or you go not live, live, not live, live. Each of them get 4 swings. And then, so the POs are on the field working on fielding balls when it's not live. And then when it's live, the fielders are doing it. And we got that from Monty Lee, and that's really, really helped us a lot. We do a 21 out type deal, which I've mentioned. We just do regular BP type deal too, that we have 2 groups on defense, 1 group hitting, 1 group behind the cage bunting, and 1 group in the cage. And we'll do a rotation deal. One BP that we do that's different, I think a lot of people don't like to put a T on the field, but we do a BP setting that we do a T, oppo T, and we got 2 mats set up, and then we have also front toss pull round. And so that really, really helps our program. Our kids really, really like that. And then we do a BP type deal with just a T, and then we do angle BP. And then we gotten big into doing double BP. When we do double BP, one of them, we'll put 2 cages up. We have a line of screens going down the middle so the coaches don't get hit. At that point, we're doing one side is off a machine, throwing as hard as it can, and then the other side is off a coach. And so we really, really like double BP. And that we'll do that 20 minutes per group. And so as many hacks as they can get in 20 minutes. Wow. And the kids really, really like that part of it too.
How big are your groups?
Normally, every now and then we might have a group of 5, but normally a group of 4. But now when we do double BP, we'll bring 2 groups together, so it's normally about 8 guys hitting.
Wow, that's a lot of swings.
Yeah, and then behind that with double BP, we have a sock net and a junior hack attack doing bunting too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. We actually, so we did something similar, and not necessarily with the BP setup, but you mentioned that you guys practiced together, and we started a circuit. And so this week, we've got like 10 to 12 guys in each group, and it's all 3 teams combined, and it's all the different position groups. And so we set up double, how you set up double BP, we set up double bunt station just because that's one of we don't want to take it away during BP. If we can, we set it up behind like you do. But one of our circuits was we're trying to figure out how to, play the short game a little bit better because we haven't done it in 6 or 7 months. And so we put 2 machines right next to each other and we're just going toot, 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 and it was pretty good.
Well, that's awesome. That's good. And so how we handle that is pre-practice.
Okay.
We have a pre-practice session, and it's 20 to 30 minutes depending on the day. And that is if we have a dual guy on Monday, he goes with the pitchers. On Tuesday, he'll go with the position guys. On Wednesday, he goes with pitchers, because our pre-practice, we're working all bunting and base running. And that's strictly, depending on that day, which one we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the pitchers are doing their dry mechanics, their plyo balls, their bands, things like that. We started that, I guess, 2 years ago. And I tell you what, that really, really has helped us by doing the pre-practice and making it important from a bunting standpoint, a base running standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the pitchers getting their work in.
Right. And, I've been trying to wrap my head around since basically beginning the podcast on when do we get that stuff in? Because you're talking about base running, extremely important. Arm care, really important. We want to have good arms. And then obviously bunting. And so we went to the circuit that does all of that before practice. And every single varsity coach gets their hands on every single one of our players in our program, which usually doesn't happen once the season starts. And that's, like awesome. You mentioned. No, and again, we don't want to take that stuff away from but what we had done before, and it's something that I didn't really like, is you take the pitcher from either indie defense or especially the 2A guys is what I mean, but you take them from that or you take them from their hitting groups, and then they would just do enough to be able to go back to what they were trying to do, which is hit or take ground balls, which they love to do. And so just trying to figure out a way to not have to do that is huge. So I love your pre-practice stuff. That's absolutely fantastic.
No, the pre-practice stuff, I tell you what, man, it's really, really helped our program. And, it's just putting it on the schedule as that and making it important. It's been really, really good for us.
Definitely. Now, you've got such a large team. Do you guys track anything in particular or use data?
Yeah. From a data standpoint, our pitching coach, I call him stat man, but he is, he does a lot of things like that. He really kind of enjoys that side of it, so that's cool for us. But I mean, he does our pitching coach. He obviously does all our charting during the game, but he does a lot of bullpen charts and types that out and gives it to the pitchers after their bullpen the next day, and how strike percentage, hitting spots, things like that. So that feedback for our pitchers is huge, and they really enjoy that. Our infield coach going to this year. Every day that we do mass fungo, he has our POs that might not be doing anything that day. They're charting each position by name of if it was a positive field or a negative field, and then that's that feedback for them. We do a quality AB chart, obviously, which everybody does, but I think that's huge. Showing kids that it's not about the average; it's about producing for the team, no matter if it's a bunt or just a hard hit ball or a long at bat, whatever that might be. And from a stat standpoint, the only time I show stats 3 times a year, when we get done with our scrimmages, because normally we have about 14 scrimmages by the time we play our first game. Okay. And so that, after 14 games, you're showing these kids where they are from a stat per se. And so that's big for our program. I think it allows the kids to understand, look, I'm getting it done, but I need to work on this and I need to work on that. And then about the halfway point, we do that one more time. And then, they don't see a stat ever again until the final thing of the year. But we're big on film. We do a lot of film. We do the huddle program. We do 3 different camera angles for the pitchers and the hitters. And so those camera angles, each kid gives us his email address. And so they get, after the game, it's uploaded to the huddle thing, and it's sent to their email. And so those kids can see it right away. And then the other thing that huddles allows us to do is we're able to track each kid's time, how much time they've been on it. Mm-hmm. So if a kid's not doing very well, and we look at his huddle and he's only been on it for 2 minutes for that week, we're like, hey, why are you not watching more film?
Right.
Where you can see what you're doing wrong. My assistants, I have 2 assistants that do the huddle stuff for us, and that's been a great deal for us. We're actually trying to figure out filming system right now for our facility, more like a D1 type deal, if we can afford that, and just to have a little bit better quality.
Oh, for sure. That's the old football coach coming out at you with huddle.
Oh yeah.
Well, so you've mentioned that you've been a head coach, at least at Parkview, for the past 15 years. And so going back to year one, if you could go back and tell yourself something, what would that something or some things be?
I would tell young coaches, don't let the scoreboard run them. Okay. I think after coming in, at least at Parkview, I was coming in after a legend that's been in the BCA Hall of Fame. He's been in our state Hall of Fame and all the above. And I think I took that pressure a little bit farther of thinking I had to win. I had to win to show these people that I belong as a head coach. It's hard to come in after a legend per se. And when I think about year 4 at Parkview, and that would have been my 8th year as a head coach because I was 4 at another place.
Okay.
I quit letting the scoreboard run me. I thought it was, I did, it's just a thing that I said, it's about the team. It's about the kids. It's about this coaching staff. It's about our program. As long as we take care of our business on the field during practice and things like that, then wins should come, and I don't think I did a good enough job of developing the young men on a daily basis like we do now. And like I said, I think I let the scoreboard run what we did. And I look back and I wish I could take that back and fix that for the kids that were there at the time, to be honest with you. But, the other thing is believe in what you do, believe in what your heart says. The other things in today's world, the parents, we don't discuss playing time. If a parent comes in, we just don't do it. You got to believe in what you do, and your kids are there every single day. And if you're working hard and show them that you care, they're going to believe in your process, and and you show them the love that they want and the caring. They're going to go to war for you, and I think that's highly important. Not just while they're there, but you're teaching them life too. And I think that's the biggest thing is relationships of what you can have. And I've been lucky enough to go to several weddings of ex-players, and my assistant coach that coaches first base for us, he's an infield guy. I was in his wedding, and he played for me. And like I said, when you have 20, 25, 28 guys in a dugout that used to play for you, come back, then you did something right. They feel like that place is home. And I think that's highly important, that they feel like they can come back no matter good or bad, and get advice if they need it, or call you or email you or whatever that might be, or just come back and like, yeah, man, I was part of this. And I think that's huge.
It's interesting. And I really love that comment. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I love this. And 2, you're talking about not letting the scoreboard dictate it, but you guys just won a national championship and 4 state championships. And so if that's not a realization to myself and to some of the coaches listening that do that from time to time, then I don't know what is. That's awesome.
No, and and like I said, man, I used to let that scoreboard run me. It used to bother me to the point where, I would go to bed, I wouldn't sleep because of it. And, I just came to the realization it's not about that. If you do what you're supposed to do on a daily basis, then the win should happen. If you're developing and just plain caring for kids and having that relationship every single day. And I heard Butch at the national clinic, like, I know my guys. He was talking about how he knew his guys. I might not know the best thing for your guys. And I think that's important for every program. You got to know what your program is about, your kids are about, and every situation is different. And, I've gotten to the point where I don't care about who we're playing. I love talking to the coaches and seeing great players on the other side, but it's about us. It's about how we played. And if we played great and lost, then, so be it. That's just baseball. But if we didn't play well and we lost, and we got to go back to the drawing table the next day and say, look, this isn't us. This isn't how we're built. We're built on, in our program, we're built on pitching, defense, and timely hitting. That doesn't mean we don't work on hitting, but we're gonna make sure that we're gonna throw strikes and catch and throw the ball. And it's all about development for me now. As where, like I said, when I was younger, it was all about the scoreboard. So development for me is huge from a player standpoint, but more than that, from a person standpoint. make practice hard on them, make things hard on where they're living and learning from failure. That's going to make them a great person one day. And that's huge for me now.
Absolutely. And 100% right there with you. And, sticking on the subject of personal development, what's something that you've learned lately that's gotten you excited?
Coach, we've I'm not a huge book guy just because, like I said, the travel program, everything else takes my time. And if I'm not with baseball, I'm going to try to spend as much time with my family as I can. Growing up, my book was Ron Polk's book. I thought that was the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm more a devotional book. Really, honestly, every single day I try to take 15 minutes right before I go to practice and read the Bible. I tried to get into that, but the book, more of that is on leadership. And obviously that's how we started as a leadership deal for us. But more than anything, what we've gone to as a staff is we pick 3 D1 programs a fall, and we go and watch, our booster club will pay for us to stay in a room and that type deal. And we'll go watch them practice 2 or 3 days.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
We've been very lucky that we go to 2 of the same programs every year, and they allow us in their office. They allow us right there with them on the field. And it's, you're getting great ideas, hands-on, being right there. And that's been the biggest resource for us in the last 3 years when we started that, is just playing during the fall, going to D1 programs that we respect and that they're going to do it the right way in our mind, and just trying to learn from them.
Oh, I really like that idea. And I may be doing something similar. That sounds like it would be an awesome time. And
it is. I would tell you the other resource for me is I've been lucky enough to be involved with USA Baseball in the last 10 years too.
Yeah.
They've being around those type of coaches all the time. That's you're going to learn a lot.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, this is my favorite question just because, again, it directly involves the kids, and it's something that I can hopefully implement tomorrow. But what's something you guys do in practice that your kids love?
I would say the biggest thing that our kids like doing is 21 outs because it's so game simulated. The other thing I would tell you is white, and if you email me, I'll send you white, and you'll probably fall in love with it too. It starts with a pitcher on the mound. He's got to throw to the catcher. That catcher rolls a bunt. He throws it to first. First baseman comes off, fields a bunt that's thrown by another first baseman, throws it to third. Third throws it to second. They're turning 2. Back to first back to the home. Then they throw the pitcher another bunt. They got to throw it to first again, first back to home, and then the catcher has to throw it to second. You got a back pick going to third. Then they roll it again, and then at the end it's a rundown. And that drill makes our kids excited.
Wow!
Because they're on a stopwatch, and they want to beat their time every year. I mean, every single time, no matter. And that's like I said earlier. We'll do all 3 teams with that. So varsity will go, and they'll have their time. And then JV will have their time. And then 9th grade. And sometimes that 9th grade and JV team will be close to their times. All of a sudden you got competition there. But, more than anything, I think that because we do everything at game speed and game simulated, that our kids get better because of that. So they enjoy that aspect of it.
Wow. Head spinning a little bit right now.
I hear you. Sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen, but yeah, I have to email you the white series. That's really cool.
No, that's awesome. Well, Coach Brown, I appreciate your time, and I absolutely loved our conversation. You gave us really a comprehensive look into what you guys are doing at Parkview, and I can't thank you enough. But is there anything else that you'd like to tell our listeners before you go?
I would just tell you, like I said, I've been lucky to be doing this for, I guess, 24 years now. And you learn a lot along the way, and if you're that young coach, you're sitting at the ABCA, sit there and listen to guys that you want to be around and see what they have to say. Don't always try to be the guy that's always talking. I would tell you, you can learn a lot. I've learned a lot just through my years of going and sitting with an older coach. And I would just ask him a question like you're asking me a question per se, and to see where he goes with it. And, I would tell you that's a great thing to do, is just find some older coaches that you respect and, find out what they do. And that's a great thing. But more than that, this is a cliche per se, but you're trying to develop these guys into great men, young men, and great husbands and great fathers. And I think that's huge. Something that we're going to this year is we're going to have a player of the day. And so basically it's going to go ABC order. And that first senior, he's going to start on next Monday, not tomorrow, but next Monday. He's going to stand up in front of the entire program and do a quote, do a Bible verse, and tell us something about him that maybe someone doesn't know. And that's going to make them a better person by standing in front of people and talking, And then the other thing that we're going to go to that I learned from Jeff Seegers at Loganville, right down the road from us, is he talked about it in our state clinic this year, is how they have Get to Know Your Players Day once a week, and they're gonna put 2 coaches with the seniors, 2 coaches with the juniors, 2 coaches with the sophomores, and 2 coaches with the ninth graders, and just say, hey man, how's your day going today? How's home? How's this? What can we be doing better for you as a player? And I think that's going to go a long way for us.
No, I love that. And before you go, if you don't mind, what are some ways to get in contact with you if any of our coaches would like to?
Our Twitter is TV Baseball Georgia. I got a Twitter, ChanBrown25. You can look at parkviewbaseball.com, or you can email me, chanbrown25@gmail.com. My phone number is 404-245-4040. Call me anytime. Love baseball. Love doing what we just did for the last hour. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to be doing something like this. And, hopefully we get something to help people out. That's what this game's all about. It's a passion thing for me. It's a love thing. I hope that you're able to keep doing this for this, especially for high school coaches. And what a great job you do.
Thank you for listening to Ahead of the Curve. Before you go, I'd love to be able to get in touch with you, and we have several different ways of doing so. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AOTC_podcast. You can join the AOTC Coaches Facebook group, and if you want to be a part of the mini clinic emails, both of those links are listed below. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a rating or review to help others find and stay ahead of the curve.